everyone. Welcome to the Monica Brant Show. I'm your host, Monica, and I am joined today with my co-host, Dylan Gemelli. So welcome, Dylan, to the show today.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Hi. How are you today?
I'm good. Really excited for this one today. You already know that, though, because we've been talking about it. So can't wait.
Me too. And, been doing this show since 2020 with a little break here and there, but I almost gave his name away already, but he's told me whenever we're ready. So today's the day. I'm excited to. He's a wealth of knowledge and a great guy, and super excited. And by the way, I like your shirt. We kind of got the fall theme kind of going. So
yeah.
I know I've been like, what can I wear that's kind of like fall feeling? Because it's almost October. Crazy. All right. So without further ado, our guest today has 40 plus years as a professional athlete, entrepreneur, educator, advocate, and fan favorite of the bodybuilding, fitness, and wellness space. He's one of the most iconic and recognized names and physiques of all time. 6-time Mr. Olympia. Welcome to the show, my friend, Dorian Yates.
What's up, Monica?
What's up?
How you doing?
I'm so good. It's so
We've
good
been
to have
talking about this for a long time, eh? So finally, we got it on.
I know. So thank you for making time. I know your schedule is crazy busy. You're like on the go every other day. I don't know how you made time.
Pretty busy. I mean, sometimes it's very hectic and sometimes it's not so busy. So kind of balance things out. But yeah, I'm quite busy at the moment.
Well, I know we met a little bit before the show with Dylan. So welcome, Dylan and Dorian, and glad to have you guys here together.
Dylan, the shoe man. We've been talking.
Dylan he's not just a shoe guy. He's pretty smart. He's got a lot of different tricks up his sleeve with peptides and HRT and training and recovery. Like he's pretty smart, educated guy.
Cool subjects to discuss. Yeah. All right.
We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah. He balances me out because I like to talk about some of the like personal, girl stuff. And then he brings kind of some of that little more, hey, let's talk about some of this more scientific stuff. So I think we balance each other out well.
Looking forward to the chat.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to kind of go back in time, Dorian, because we do have a little bit of time you've offered us. So I'd like to hear about your growing up, and we know where you are right now in the big picture, but there's so much history, and this show started off with me wanting to connect with my friends in the industry like you and really find out more about them, help the new people coming into the industry that are listening in to learn about the iconic athletes and people that have helped build this industry for all of these years. So you have been one of those people for sure. Like, your footprint is going to be here forever. And it's a very large footprint in this industry. And it's helped the athletes now from back then to even today with all that you do today still. So I wanted to go back in time and just learn a little bit more about you, how you grew up, where you grew up, and then of course how you stepped onto the bodybuilding stage and how that became such a drive for you.
Yeah, wow, it's been a journey, So where did I start? I kind of because all of things, the environment and all the things that happen to you somehow builds some part of your persona, so it's interesting to explore. So where I grew up in England, what we call a small holding. So it's kind of like a farmhouse with some land, a few horses and chickens and dogs, but not a functional farm. It wasn't a big farm, but it was in a rural setting. There was a few farms around and small villages, small towns, mainly like coal mining. So, working environment. And I was there until like 12, 13. My father died, which now I realize was like a hugely pivotal moment in my life. And after that, we moved from the rural setting to the city, and that was a totally whole new experience for me. And I left home at 16 and kind of had to learn how to look after myself, which was not a bad thing, because you either learn discipline or you're going to fall down, you're going to fail, you know, one or the other. So kind of made me stronger. And I came across body. I was always doing something, you know. I was walking, riding bike, kung fu, push-ups, squats in my bedroom, and, you know, chin-ups and all kind of stuff. And I got into bodybuilding seriously when I was 20, after I'd been in a detention center, which is kind of like a youth jail facility, where they send you for a few months if you're a bad boy. And I wasn't really a bad boy. I was just a teenager, you know, having fun, and like there was nobody there to look out for me, no discipline, no nothing. So, you know, and I was actually just in the wrong place at the wrong time, but I suppose I could have done something in all those years to justify being in there. Anyway, when I was in there, they had weights in there. It was a very like kind of almost like military disciplinary kind of a place, which most guys hated, but I kind of liked it. I was suited to it. All the physical stuff, I was just doing it. And when I first went in there and I was doing stuff, they were like, kind of the prison officers were thinking I was cheating or something, like lying. So they're making me do it again and watching. And then like kind of, I got noted for my strength and physicality. And it became obvious that I had something that I could work with and something that I should do. And it's a strange feeling. Like I almost feel like my life was already written out. Like I already lived it before or something. It's like, I don't know, it's like a feeling of destiny. Like I imagined it, that I would do this bodybuilding. I imagined I would become a champion, and I imagined and it all happened, but it didn't seem strange. It seemed like it was supposed to happen. So, you know, there are some theories that everything is all happening at the same time. So that's why you get deja vu and these kind of feelings. But I definitely felt like this. It was not like I wanted to do bodybuilding. I just like had to do it. And I didn't want to be whatever, normal. Like the expectations of the people around me was just like, this is not right. There's more to this. And reading magazines and seeing pictures of these guys doing bodybuilding and being on the beach and apparently making a living at lifting weights. What? I mean, you know, this started my imagination that this could really lead to something positive. And it was step by step, I guess. I didn't start bodybuilding saying I'm going to win Mr. Olympia. I'm going to do something with it. And I'd like to be a British champion, and I'd like to open my own gym. I think I was thinking that right at the start. So I was already thinking quite confidently. I knew I could be good at it. I knew I could be good at it. I knew I had some potential there over and above. Like I'd just been in jail with 300 guys. So, you know, I had the best physique in there. So I have something to work with, and I don't want to be, that's not my future. I'm not a criminal. I'm not supposed to be there. So here's a crossroads. What do you want to do here? So
wow.
I guess life just gave me that ultimatum. Like, what do you want to do here?
Do you remember the first magazines that you looked at? And do you remember which, I'm assuming you do, like which bodybuilders that maybe you saw that you were like, oh, look at that.
You know, it's unfortunate I had a huge collection of magazines. Not only every magazine that was ever published while I was actively bodybuilding. Trust me, I had every magazine, because that was what you look forward to. There's no internet, right? There's one magazine per month coming out, and everyone's looking forward to it. And then there's, you know, there was Muscle Builder and Flex and Iron Man. There was a few different ones, but there wasn't a lot. So I collected all of those. Plus I had people give me old magazines from the 60s, or, you know, my friend's older brother had some old magazines, and people used to give them to me. So I had this huge collection. Unfortunately, got destroyed in a flood in a basement one time. So I lost them all. But anyway, the first magazines I saw were Robbie Robinson, on the
Mm.
front of Muscle Builder, as it was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Robbie Robinson and Mike Mensa were in there. So I think it was around maybe 80s, 80, something like that, 79, 80, when I first saw the first magazines. I started reading them. And I did learn a lot by reading magazines and reading books and about nutrition before I actually started training. So I think that helped. I didn't waste a lot of time.
So I have a question for you on that. Obviously now there's so many ways to get information, and there's so many new concepts and things that come out, as opposed to when, you know, you were working out and training. But with that comes a lot of bad information, a lot of bad influencers encouraging things. Do you feel like it was kind of better off at your time with less information, but less corrupt information, or people claiming to know stuff they don't? Or do you think it's better now with more technological advances, more communication?
I think from my point of view, it was better because I saw this thing. I felt like, rightly or wrongly, I felt like life, I couldn't rely on anybody. I could only rely on me. And bodybuilding was very individual. It's only me that can do the diet. It's only me that does the training. And it's only me that's going to stand on the stage. And there was no concept of a coach or a nutritionist or anything like that. It just didn't exist. You had your body in a gym, a training body in a gym, or you might have a guy that owned a gym or had been around a long time, where you might want to talk to him because he might know something about nutrition or training or steroids or something that you don't know. But on the whole, you had to look for it. Yeah? And I had to go to the bookstore or the library and get a book on nutrition and read it. But I liked that. I wanted to do that. It was part of the process. It was part of me. And I realized I have a very good ability to intake information and learn things, but only if I'm very interested in it. If I'm not, I don't. So I learned that about myself. And that's useful. And I like reading and I like learning. So that was part of the process. And so I was learning a lot quicker than the other guys in the gym because they were just doing whatever what everyone else did, right? Without questioning it or without experimenting. And I was influenced by Mike Mensa and Arthur Jones and the high intensity training. It kind of made sense to me logically. And but then when I tried it out, and then when I compared it with more frequent training, more volume, it was like black and white. If I did more volume, I just stopped growing. Especially in my early days when I wasn't using any steroids to enhance the recovery, which is something that we should talk about when talking about how often to train. And so and so is a pro and he trains 6 days a week. Well, yeah, but you can't do that if you're not using something. So we should always put that out there. So I kind of did my own experiment. I've literally got every workout that I ever did from 1983 to 1997 written down. I've got notes underneath. I've got every supplement, every diet, every steroid thing. It's all written down, So I still got it now as a reference. So what I'd like to say about that is, like, if you really do this yourself and you keep notes and you listen to your body, then nobody's going to be able to coach you or tell you what's the correct nutrition for you, because you're living in your body and you're keeping a note and you're going to but most people now, they're just too lazy to do this. They want somebody to hold their hand, tell them what to do. If they lose the contest, then, it's my coach's fault. So from my point of view, bodybuilding was an individual sport, although you need support system and, all that. And it's not like I would never listen to anybody. I would ask a lot of people their opinion, but ultimately I'd weigh it up and it would go on, what's my book saying here? What's happening? What's the feedback? This is the reality. Yeah, it doesn't matter what anyone says. If my body says this works or this doesn't work, then and I know because I've kept the notes. So that means there's not a lot of wasted time and effort, which is really a sin because we don't have a lot of it's limited time we have. So yeah, there's many ways to train, but I believe my way was the most efficient if it's done properly, and it makes sense. But when we go into professional bodybuilding using steroids and competing, then you can break the rules a little bit on that. I suppose you can get away with doing too much and still recover from it.
Oh yeah. And I love that because it's so subjective to each person. A lot of people will say, run this cycle, this protocol, or this or that, but it doesn't work that way for everybody. And that's why I'm wondering, at your time, was it more difficult to get like blood work done and have it analyzed properly? Because, some people
almost
are just
impossible. I mean, I don't know, because I'm from the UK, so there was no such thing as doctors who worked with sports people that use steroids. It was like didn't really exist, only underground, some bodybuilders and powerlifters and stuff. So I was fortunate in that I just had a relationship with my doctor. At first he didn't want to, but then he saw that I was serious and I was doing something. So he said, all right, I can't prescribe you anything, but I'll do like 3 times a year or 4 times a year. I'll do your basic blood check and blood pressure. And so you got some kind of feedback, but it was very basic. And all the other guys at the gym didn't do it because they were afraid of the negative response of their doctor going into this and asking. 9 times out of 10, they were just going to say, hey, you're crazy. You're going to kill yourself and I'm not going to be part of this. Yeah, but I can smoke cigarettes, right? And drink myself to death and you'll still come and look after me. But, but that was the attitude at the time. So now it's so easy to get your blood work done, right? Anywhere you can do it online. So, I mean, if you're using steroids and not doing blood work, then you're just an idiot at this point.
I agree.
You're just an idiot and you're in denial, yeah?
I agree.
Back then it was difficult, so we're kind of shooting in the dark a little bit and guessing and word of mouth and stuff like that. But there's no excuse now, and everybody reacts differently. And if you have some potential problem coming up, well, surely you want to know about it, right? So I encourage everybody, if you're using PEDs, get regular blood work done and address any problems.
Well, I mean, even as we get older with hormonal balances, I mean, even if we're not like, I'm doing blood work because I just want to see, I want to make sure that what I'm using with HRT is actually going the direction I want it to go and not going over what I need it to be. But yeah, that's been a learning lesson for me now in my early 50s. But I want to ask you something, Dorian, because, you talked about the education that you learned and you put yourself through as you went through all of this, going to read and study and learn. And that's something that I absolutely love to do as well. And I think Dylan as well, he's a studier, learner, and likes to learn as well. So we can appreciate that. But I think today's athlete, and maybe not all of them, but I think majority of them, they're so stuck on having to be a personality on social media. There's almost no time, and always having to show what you're doing, what you look like, how you're training, how you're eating. I mean, we all know how much effort does it take to film everything that you're doing and make it look, and then put a reel together. Like, it's so much, it's a whole nother job. And I don't know that people actually have time, if they're doing all of that on a continual basis, to keep that going. Like, how do they actually have time to go do the study, learn, and, write everything down like you're talking about? And I think that's where, the industry there's positives with having social media, but what do you think about that? And especially with one thing that I noticed is when I was getting, in the heat of my competitive days, I remember going into the gym and I stayed covered. Like, I didn't go in there like all exposed and everything out. Like, okay, if we did a photo shoot leading up to the show, obviously that, but otherwise I was pretty, covered. But it's like all of these people are showing their physique all year long, all the time. and you know they're 6 weeks out of a show and they look like they should be getting on stage at that point. And I'm like, it just seems like it's really excessive. And you know how the magazine started going, they started creeping out, like January issue would come out in November. And it's like, that's what's going on now with social media. And I'm like, it just seems like a lot. And I think, what do you
I think the whole industry has shifted. So we're talking about a totally different environment, and it's a matter of focus more than time. Yeah. So if you have to be having this presence all the time on social media in order to make a living, then that becomes more of your focus than actual training and doing the competition. So I don't know really how it works for the guys now, how much they have to do online, but surely if you've got to think about your camera and the angles that you're filming from while you're training, and I mean, it's a lot of focus that's gone now away from the basic, right, of training and rest and nutrition over to that. But maybe that's justified for the athletes, as that's how they're making their income. We didn't do that. We made our income by competing. If you're successful, you get more endorsement contracts, magazine contracts, etc. So we didn't need to be exposed all the time, which meant that we could get our heads down and do the job that needs to be done and focus on that and focus on the training without any outside attention under the microscope all the time. And I just don't know, like, even if I would exist in this era of bodybuilding, because I was literally the shadow. But that was not like a marketing exercise. That was because I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to see anybody. Even the guys in the gym that trained with me didn't see me, apart from I used to cut my sweatshirt off here so they could see my forearms and my chest and my traps, so they could tell what kind of condition I was in, but they couldn't see, and I wasn't interested in showing them because we were there to train, and I didn't want them to ooh and ah and how's that going to help me, So I was always covered up, and I think now there's positive and negative to everything. So maybe the guys are earning more money, more people can earn more money online than they could like through the other avenue before. I'm not sure, but
how do you think that their mental, like, how does that work on the mental if you're always having to be on and you're always having to be in this peak condition where it looks like you get on stage, and I don't know how that feels like.
I think it makes the contests anticlimactic. Like, if you go to any of these contests now, there's no clapping, there's no shouting, there's no flag waving, there's no air horns, there's no nothing, because there's no excitement, because they've seen the guys every day, all the year round. And in fact, you know what? Didn't he look better in his online pictures than what's before me right now? So I feel a little disappointed. So it's, the contests seem to be online. So when you get to the actual stage, it's nobody's that excited because they've seen it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they in the past, you had to go to a contest, you had to go to a live event to like see somebody. Now every day you can see them online. So it's a totally different environment, and I think it takes away from the competitive aspect, because you would have to focus on all these other things instead of just like, when I train for the Olympian, myself or Kevin Everone or whatever, we'd just be in our own gyms, head down, doing our training. Nobody like looking at you day in and day out, and you're having to talk to people and deal with people. I don't think I would be very suited to that. I like the fact that I could just train and disappear for a while and come and do my competitions. So you couldn't really be the shadow now, could you? You couldn't exist the shadow. Right?
That would definitely not happen. No.
There's different times, different eras. We're living in a different time, and best of luck to all the people involved. I hope it's a positive thing in your life and you love it, and great. There's no criticism. I'm just observing that things are different.
Well, yeah, I think that's the same for me too. It's just, yeah, completely different life going on with the whole industry.
Yeah. And, I'm not really that focused on the industry, like, because as far as like, what do I read and watch? And it's more like health and longevity related. And as that's where I am, right? So I'm kind of like interested in how I can help myself in that phase with the kind of approach that I did with bodybuilding, where I'm kind of quite analytical about it, like yourself. I have quarterly blood tests to make sure the hormones are in balance, blood sugar's good. Do I need to change my diet or anything? And, I recently had like a VO2 max and a fitness scan done, all that stuff. And so that's where my kind of focus is now, as far as learning and so on. And of DY Nutrition, which is my sports nutrition company, we're bringing out a line which is called DY Life, which is more, it's like the health, wellness, longevity line, if you like. So,
oh wow,
yeah, I'm involved in that as well, like firsthand. DY Nutrition is my company. It's not like I work for somebody or I'm a endorsee or something like that. So that's where my interest is, and kind of like showing people my journey a little bit through social media, what I'm doing, like spiritually, physically, and all the stuff I'm doing, and hopefully showing people that when you get in your 60s, you still can have a great active life and have good energy and positive and everything. So that's kind of where I'm at now. So I don't really take that too much notice of the competitive side, although I'm still aware of it. It's not my focus.
Awesome. I have a question for you. One of the things that I always deal with, because I handle a lot of different types of chemical questions on top of hormone optimizations and things like that. And one of the things that I always have to deal with is that every single person says you absolutely cannot be a pro, you cannot compete, you cannot do anything unless you're cycling. And I'm talking heavy cycling, the point to where it's scary to me, because I put so much study in health and longevity as opposed to just the compounds and trying to explain the side effects and what goes along with it. In your experience, how much is it genetics? How much is it cycling? How much is it your food, nutrition? What kind of makes that up? And is that accurate that you just absolutely cannot compete in like an Olympia or be a pro without some sort of steroid use?
Can you compete successfully in the Mr. Olympia without any steroid use? No. But still the guys with the best genetics are going to be the guys, all things being equal. So I was not certainly natural when I went to Mr. Olympia when I turned pro. But my first competition, just to give an example, I'd been training for less than a year. I hadn't used any steroids, and I beat a couple of guys that were using stuff and they've been training much longer. And, so we could debate, but let's say it's a certain percent, and that could vary again with genetics. But let's say if people took PEDs, everyone would get a certain percent of an increase. Then obviously the people that are genetically ahead will still be genetically ahead. I don't know. I've never spoken to Ronnie Coleman, but I believe it's possible that he was in the Mr. Olympia when he was still natural, because he won the natural world championships and went to Olympia. So if you see, he was there in 1992. I remember thinking, well, this guy's got a great shape, great genetics. Well, it wasn't that big at that point. But do you need to use huge amounts? Well, if you find that you need to use huge amounts, then quite frankly, you haven't got what it takes. Yeah. So yes, you need to use steroids, but there's a point of little return and greater risk. And, it's progressive as well. Like, if you were considering using steroids, you've got to know, like, the first time you use it, you could lose like a really tiny dose and you're going to get a great reaction. Later on, you might need to take more. So it's like pointless jumping in and doing whatever you heard like a pro bodybuilder was supposed to be doing on your first course. And there's a cutoff point. Some of the amounts that I'm hearing now is like, it's just it's crazy. I mean, I suppose any dose above therapeutic replacement dose is abuse technically, you know, but we're talking about taking something 100 times the normal dose for many years. There's going to be damage. And we've seen a lot of deaths. Even when I was competing, there was people dying. But now, like, I don't know, every couple of weeks on social media, I see somebody, and it's usually somebody that's obviously, I mean, they're advertising the fact that they're abusing. Some people have made big accounts by, you know, documenting all their massive dosage and everything, and then they don't make it past their mid-30s. So I would say if you're going to be a competitive at a high level, then it's a necessary tool, but try to use it properly, responsibly, and under some kind of, you know, management, medical, keep an eye on things.
And that my goal in asking you this is so people can hear it straight from who many people think is one of the greatest of all time. You don't need a lot.
I don't need to go say this again on your show, because it's just going to be repetitive.
Yeah.
But you can, you know, I've said many times, this is what I use, that like the highest.
Yeah.
And all I get is like, you know, that's bullshit. That's not possible. That's not enough. According to who? Expert?
Right.
Who's the fucking expert here? It's not. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know if you do any coaching stuff or any training stuff online, Monica, but you know, I still get these experts coming on telling me like I'm doing it all wrong, and because they've watched a fucking TikTok video or they've read something, some study that a guy did with 20 college students or something. Hey, I've been doing this for 40 years, guys. Like, come on, you make me laugh. Though, brighten up my day when you do that. Thank you.
Everyone's got an opinion, right?
Always.
Yeah.
And online, there's so much more vocal.
Well, you know, the thing is, it's like, if you have time to leave like a negative comment somewhere, like, have a think about yourself. Like, you got time for that, man. You know,
Right.
successful people don't do that.
No.
I go around like putting negative, or I don't even fucking speak anything negative about it. Like, I'm focusing on me, right? So if you're listening, and people, nerds that put comments, take notes.
Stop the nonsense.
Carry on if you want, but you know.
So Dorian, I just saw one of your latest posts, and you were sharing kind of how you went through this last bit of travel and all the planes and working out, and you are in incredible shape and condition. I don't like to just say shape, because I think there's obviously a great shape, and then you're in great condition. So, and I was seeing that you said you only lift weights maybe twice a week right now. Is that kind of, I want to kind of hear what you're.
Maybe, you know, because of my injuries. So I tore the bicep and tricep on the left side, and I had a shoulder injury on the left side as well, like a supraspinatus tear. So it just means like there's an imbalance. That arm is weaker and smaller than that side, and the shoulder and everything. So I can't really lift too much weight in a lot of movements without potentially causing some irritation or like some negatives, right? So I just do what I can do, and it means that the weights are fairly light, but it's only all I got to do is, like, I have a high level of muscle mass anyway for a 6-year-old person, so I just need to maintain that now, right? So I mean, it sounds like nothing, but it's enough, right? And I don't like to waste time, as you might have noticed. So I go in once a week if I'm not, like, you know, on the road or something. Once a week, and I do upper body. I do probably like a dumbbell press and a pec deck for chest, pull downs and rows for back. I do some laterals. I can't do presses overhead, so I do laterals for shoulders, one bicep, one tricep. And I come in another day and I do some legs, which at the moment is just like leg extension, leg curls, adductor machine, glute machine, hamstrings. So that's all the weights I do.
What kind of reps do you do? Is it high reps?
I do like 10 to 12 on upper body and maybe 15, somewhere 20 on legs and stuff like that. And I do once a week, like interval training. So I do sprints on the air bike, which is like a 20-second sprint by a minute active rest, like 4 times. And that sounds like nothing. It's kind of like my training when Chris Cormier came to train with me, like 3 sets of this and 2 sets of that. But yeah, wait till you do it. Yeah. So on that bike, if you go all out for 20 seconds on that bike, the first one is like, it's okay. Second one's tough. The third one is like really, and the fourth one is like you want to vomit and all your limbs are seizing up. So it's a very intense, short cardio session. And then I do at least once a week out on my bike on a mountain. So that's like a long one. I count that as a long one. And I do Pilates once a week, which is, I don't know if you've done Pilates.
Yes, it's good.
With the reformer bench. But it works all your postural muscles and all the small muscles. And that's great for your, to avoid injury and keep everything working. So I do that, or yoga. So it's a little bit of cardio, it's a little bit of weights, it's a little bit of movement and walking and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of everything, which is what I need. It's what I need now at this point, which is, awesome. You kind of like got to learn to be flexible in life in order to like keep learning and growing, because it's so easy to get stuck in something, especially if you're very good at it and you're familiar and it becomes part of you. But trying to train heavy now is not going to help me. It's going to probably damage me. So that's why I don't do it. As much as I love to do it, it's not what I need to do now. So you got to kind of know when to change lanes in many aspects, or otherwise you get stuck in life.
Well, it's true. I haven't I stopped competing at 46, and that was, the last year I did stuff on stage and I was competing in track and all that. So I just haven't done anything since I was 46. That's been 8 years. And I've had to learn this kind of new lifestyle for myself to maintain a level of condition that I like and can without being excessive. Keeping health and fitness, wellness, all of it in check, so that I stay healthy and age well. But there is a learning curve to, after being a competitor your entire life in some sort of fashion of athletic type thing, and then trying to figure out how to balance, of course, with the hormones thing too. Like, okay, where am I at? What am I doing? So I'm in the same boat with you. Like at this age in life, like, every day is a little bit different type of exercise. It's not just weights. I'm still on the track doing sprints, and it's nice to hear someone like yourself. I can relate to that. Like, okay, what to do right now today, and how can I keep things interesting for me? Because there's not like this big carrot on the stick goal. It's just knowing how I want to feel, look, and age, and stay where I want my health to stay. So there's a balance to it all, right? And some days, and I can't just be in the gym all the time, and I've got other things to do. So it's been an interesting journey this last, and I guess that's for you too, right?
I think it's all at this point in my life, I realize everything comes to balance, or it should do ultimately come to balance. And if you've been a competitive athlete, then this is totally not balanced. To start with, it's not a balanced thing to want to win contests and be number one. And, that's not a balanced thing, but it is what it is. It's what you need to be at the time. You need that kind of a drive, with a singular drive, almost like an obsession. So that's not very balanced. So you're going to come out of that and you will be taking time to like kind of recalibrate and who am I outside of this as well, because it's just a huge part of who you are if you're a competitive athlete, any kind of sport, I should imagine. And you've got always this goal that you're pushing forward, and this somehow is drug. Maybe it is a drug. Maybe it's producing dopamine. So in a way, it's kind of a drug, right? You got this all-consuming goal that you go into and everything all the time, and now pop, you don't have it anymore. So like, why am I actually going to the gym now? I mean, I know I'm going, and because I used to, and now I'm going at the same time as I went before, but why am I going? And all these kind of questions, and who am I outside of being an athlete, and Monica Brant, the fitness personality, and all this stuff that just was consuming you for a while, and now you've had a lot of other things to consider. So it takes time, I think, ultimately. But if you're aware of it, then that's helpful.
Yeah, it's been a journey.
How is your diet now, and do you kind of believe that diet has a lot to do with recovery, especially kind of as you get a little bit older? How does that kind of play into your everyday life?
Well, I had an another interesting experiment that I did for myself, and I can give you the feedback and everybody the feedback.
Yeah.
So I don't know when it was. Maybe about 8 or 9 years ago. So I hadn't been like really at this point really checking on my health all that often and everything. So I thought I should go, and I went for a check, and everything was all right. Blood test was okay, but my blood pressure was high, like 150 over 100 or 150 over 90 or something. So yeah, it wasn't good. And I remember that's one of the things when I was bodybuilding, and my body weight got up over like 280, because I was like 300, over 300 at some point in off season. And when I was over 280, my blood pressure was going up, and probably I should have took medication, but I didn't. I wasn't advised to, and I didn't. And it was for a while because, after a few years I retired anyway, and the body weight came down. But anyway, I was still hanging around 255, something like that, just because I was keeping the bodybuilding diet and the same training, just because that's what I'm used to, right? Mm-hmm. And this just kind of, in a way, shocked me, and I thought, wow, that's not healthy. What should I do? And I started reading a lot about plant-based diets and for heart health and everything. So I said, let me give it a go. And it wasn't 100%, because I'd probably eat fish once a week or eggs, but generally it was low protein, plant-based. So yeah, I lost weight. But as I was not carrying a lot of body fat, most of it was probably muscle. So right. I can tell you, if you want to lose muscle, that's the good diet for that. But in a way, it was beneficial for me, because as I lost the weight, even though it was muscle, and here's an interesting point, my blood pressure went down just because my body weight went down, even though it was muscle. And I've had some discussions with doctors about this, and they're kind of like, yeah, I think you're probably right. Because my question is, if your body weight is up there unnaturally high, 280, 290, 300, whatever, whether that's muscle or fat, is that going to be this detrimental in the same way? Mm-hmm. And they seem to agree more or less, yes. So when the young guys ask me, oh, don't you wish you was like as big as before and everything like that? I did an interest a couple of times at seminars. I said, let me ask you a question first of the whole audience. How many guys do you know that are 300 pounds and they're over 70? Please put your hand up. No hands. Did I answer your question why I'm not still 300 pounds? Because I don't want to die yet. So the plant-based I lost muscle, but it got to a point where I wasn't feeling good. And my wife could notice this as well. She said, you don't notice it, but your concentration and your mood, and it's not good. You need to, and then I fell off my bike and I dislocated my shoulder and tore 2 tendons, and so it was a mess. And I called a couple of guys that I know in the States that work with the high-level pro athletes, and I said, look, this happened. I want to rehab it. What's your advice? 2 guys that I really trust, and they both said, how's your diet? I said, yeah, I've been doing this plant-based thing. Stop that now. Yeah. Eat liver, eat beef, all animal-based. Do it now. Mm-hmm. I did. And I tell you what, within 3 or 4 weeks, a lot of people were coming up to me and saying, hey, man, well, you look great. Like, I started putting muscle on. And even I wasn't training. My body was just starved of protein and probably essential fats and many things. So what do I eat now? I generally like eat twice a day. And it's more high protein fats like beef, eggs, avocado, butter, cheese. Carbs, I have a bit of rice or sweet potato, vegetables, a little bit of fruit, but not a lot. No grains and bread. And I say no, but like if I have a day off, I have a day off, but I'm speaking generally. So yeah. Massive difference when I put the protein back in, like an animal-based.
Healing.
Feel so much healthier. My mood's better. My concentration's better. My sleep's better. I'm stronger. Like that's the feedback. What can I tell you? There's no emotions here. I actually had emotional and spiritual reasons for being plant-based because I love animals, and I thought maybe I don't want to be involved in that killing of the animals, and so I understand a lot of thought processes behind this, but I mean, ultimately, living and dying is an illusion, and if you want to look into feelings, plants have feelings as well. So everything's in a cycle. Everything gets eaten. We're going to get eaten by the worms or something, So I kind of came to terms with that, and I just try to have the best quality. Grass-fed beef and free-range chicken and eggs and stuff like that as I can. If I'm eating in a restaurant, then, it is what it is. So I try to do all this without going OCD because I kind of have that tendency. So that's where I'm going about the balance, Yes, I'm concerned with my diet and my health, but if I want a beer with my friends, I have a beer. Is alcohol good for you? Technically, no, but 90-10 is my rule. 90% I'm doing everything that's good for me. 10%, I'm going to live, right?
I was just
living forever. I just want to live. I just want to be living in a good vehicle and having a good state of mind while I'm here.
I was just having dinner with a girlfriend yesterday from my church, and she started to ask me about all these things. She's 48, turning 50. And I was just kind of trying to tell her the same thing. And we started talking about the food, and I was telling her how I'm kind of weird about eating fish out now. And it's almost like as you said, being OCD, I'm I'm kind of getting that way after I've learned too much. I've learned too much about how the animals are treated and what goes on in that world and the poor quality and how it affects us, as we eat it. And then I have a tendency to go that route too. I understand that verbiage.
I think there's literally poison everywhere, right? There's pesticides on the plants. There's antibiotics in the animals. There's fluoride in the water. They're spraying shit in the skies. It's everywhere. So I just control what I can control.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. Otherwise, you'll be paranoid and living in fear, and you don't want to be there.
Well, and we know God doesn't want us to live in fear.
So be aware and control what you can control and what you can't. It is what it is. That's it.
Dorian, I want to hear about what you're doing. I know you're doing a lot of traveling. So as an educator, is that what you're doing? You're going and doing seminars. Is that kind of what is
Yeah,
the majority of your work right now?
I just been on a tour now for I've been to UK to do some promotions, and then I've been my company's based now. That's where we got our own facility, which is a pharmaceutical grade facility, which is something like unique in the industry. So all the products will have a so you can see the lab analysis of the products, which you know, let's just say that there's a lot of products in the industry that are not what they're supposed to be. So we're going to cut through all that, and you can be guaranteed. And it's not just my word. You can go look. Here's the analysis. Here's the batch number. Everything. So we want everything to be transparent, as we have our own facility now. So I can like control everything from start to finish. And I've been on TV like probably 6 times in Romania. So, you know, as a spokesperson for the fitness industry and promoting events there and so on. Then we went to Bulgaria, do some stuff there. Georgia, which is not in the USA, not that Georgia. Georgia, near to Ukraine and the Black Sea, which was a beautiful country. Never been there before. That's beautiful. So I just calculated I've been in now 45 different countries.
Wow.
And that's all because I did bodybuilding. Like, there's no way I would have done that. Like, you know, as I said before as well, like, you're not going there as a tourist. You're going there as a respected guest, and they're going to like treat you first class and show you all their culture and everything like that. So you make friends all around the world, which is amazing. There's no other industry where you can really do that, I don't think, to that extent.
I agree. It was always awesome. You get to show up and people were just so ready they were excited you were there. You had great, they took you to the best restaurants. And then if we were working with one of the other,
the great thing is, I mean, I see some guys, you know, that were from our area coming in to say hello and everything. But the great majority of the people that come to see me, they're like early 20s or something, you know, teenagers, early 20s, which is amazing because, I mean, I was retired before they were born, probably. But because of the internet, they're going into the industry, and then they find out about the guys previously, and they catch their interest because it was a unique kind of a time, I think.
Do you find that pretty gratifying that you have so many people that young that are researching you, looking up to you, coming up to you, asking you questions?
No, it's great. And it's like, you know, when I was Mr. Olympia, I didn't get as much attention as I do now because it was, you know, it was just in the magazines, and it was like like subculture, I guess. Now I get all kind of people like, oh, Mr. Yates, and because they've seen me on a podcast, and they might not even go to the gym, they just see me speak on podcasts, as I've spoken about many different subjects on podcasts. So yeah, it's great to get recognized everywhere, and by the young guys as well. So obviously, whatever I'm saying is getting out there and having a positive effect, which is the main reason to say anything, because if it was just for me, quite frankly, you wouldn't see me, you know. I would just be at home or something and appreciating the view. So it's good that I'm getting out there and having some positive effect on people.
I can definitely assure you that people really look forward to hearing what you have to say, because I'm in that kind of world all the time, and your name is brought up constantly. That's one of the reasons why this was such a big deal to me to even get a chance to talk to you. But you've made probably, I'm sure you know the kind of impact you've made, but I think it might even be bigger than you do know, because I hear it constantly, and so many people look up to you and appreciate everything you've done.
Well, the thing is, it's because of the magazines, and then I guess because of the internet, it's global. You know, I go to some places and I just forget, because I think, no, like, nobody's going to know me here, right? You'd be surprised. The place, like I went to Russia one time, and there's a famous church there called the Church of Blood, because it's where the Tsar and the royal family were murdered during the Russian Revolution. So as I'm like, history's one thing that I'm fascinated by. So I wanted to go there, and I went there, and there was a big wedding there. All right, so I'm just there taking pictures, and then all of a sudden, half the wedding, all the guys from the wedding were over with me, wanted to take pictures with me. Shit, had no idea. But yeah, Russia and Eastern Bloc got to be open early 90s, right? So they start to get the magazines then, and who's on of many magazines was myself. So my name is very big in that part of the world as well. So yeah, it's surprising where I get recognized.
That's fun. Hey, so Dorian, what do you do now for fun? Because I know for a little while there, because of my horse passion and our business, I know you were sharing with me that you were riding and starting to jump and all that. So what are you doing now that is enjoyable, that's not just considered work? And maybe you and Gal like to go traveling as well.
There's some background to the horse thing, because I grew up, my mom was an equestrian, you know, she did all like cross-country jumping and show jumping and all that stuff when she was young. And me and my sister, we had like a couple of ponies that we used to ride, and my mom used to teach horse riding. So my sister went on to be like following my mom and become competitive in dressage, and she trains people. She got her own little stables, trains people. So I guess my sister kind of did what I did with the gym. She did her own thing with the horses and made her own little life with that. So I was brought up with horses, but after the age of 12, I was more interested in the girls that were coming for the riding lessons than riding the horses. So yeah, I was like, I don't want to ride horses. I want a motorbike or something. So I kind of gave it up, and my sister carried it on. And then I hadn't rode a horse at all, really, apart from sitting on one since I was a kid. And I took my daughter's horse riding lessons. So as she was riding, I went with her. And the instructor said, "You look very good on the horse. You've ridden before, right?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, when I was a kid." And she was like, "Well, maybe you should refresh, because you look like, you know, you've still got all the basics there." So I thought, why not? And I was doing a couple of times a week. I love the horses, and I love learning. And I got to the point where I was jumping medium-sized fences and galloping outside. And a couple of things happened, like I nearly came off, and my riding instructor's telling me, like, "I know you're stubborn, but one day you're going to come off, you know, because we all do." And I know my sister broke her leg one time. She broke her arm. My riding instructor dislocated her shoulder. So it got to the point where I was like, you know what? I think, like, it's not worth me pushing this anymore. Like, you know, I've learned to ride. I'm quite competent. And I was getting some pain in my hip, which I'm actually having surgery on in, next month. So I haven't rode the horse for about a year, just because it was irritating my hip. But I love biking. I go biking outside. Me and Gal love to travel different places in Europe. I mean, because in 3 hours we can be in Italy, in Rome, it can be in Amsterdam, in Holland, it can be in Paris. So that's the beauty of living in Europe. And we live on south coast of Spain. So 45 minutes across the water is Morocco, North Africa. So there's a lot of places you can get within a few hours in Europe. So we love traveling. But to be honest, the best holiday is just when I'm at home with Gal and the dog and just doing nothing. You know, that's my vacation. That's what I look forward to when I'm away and I'm traveling. And it's great to meet people and go different places, but you just want to get back to your own house and your own environment. So that's the best thing for me. The simple things in life are usually the best things. Even, you know, I've experienced a lot of things in my life, but it comes back to that. Maybe I'm just getting old, but
no,
that's how I feel.
No, you've been on the road a lot, and it takes a lot out of you to be on and do the things you're doing and continue to educate people and promote the brand and keep your, like that's a lot. So it makes sense. I know my husband travels a lot. Of course, I traveled a lot too, but so when we can just be home because I think he's been home on a Saturday, half a Saturday this year, only once. And usually he's at the barn coaching, or he's at a horse show, or he's judging, or, it's like just never here. So we
that's
appreciate
the key to a happy relationship.
Yeah,
some separations.
True. Yeah, we don't mind having a little separation.
I'm joking, but it's true, probably. A little bit of missing each other is healthy, right? You're not on top of each other, and you have your own life and your own interests, which makes it interesting, I think.
Absolutely. Well, we've got the Olympia coming around the corner, the 60th anniversary. So we're excited. We're taking the show there. Dylan is going to be speaking at the Olympia University. He's a big part of the educational piece there. Are you familiar with the Olympia University? Have you heard about it?
Not, no.
So they're really trying to bring. Go ahead, Dylan.
It's like a round table. They have different types of like doctors and people in the industry talking. So like, for instance, I'm going to be on one that's discussing TRT, one that's discussing peptides. Then there's some injury prevention, some different types of things, but it's really nice to, there's not a lot of times where you get a bunch of people together to talk about this in front of people. And
are you going to broadcast that?
I believe so. Yes.
It'll be interesting. Yeah, it'll be interesting because I'm doing my own podcast now, like just like once a month or something. And at some point I would be interested in getting somebody that specializes in TRT and maybe peptides for injuries or something like that. So I'll definitely listen to that and listen to the guys there.
Yeah. I like it because the company Dominate Your Game, it's a friend of ours, Michael, that owns that company. He's based in Vegas, and he started going to the Arnold, taking the the Arnold University at the Arnold. And then I introduced him over there with Dan Solomon and got him involved with the Olympia. So they're really trying to get more education into these expos and have it available for the fans and the people to come in and learn. So I think it's a really neat addition to each of those big shows. And so
education is always good, right?
Mm-hmm. I know. As much as I like doing the show, I'd like to go in there and listen to some of the speakers. But
me too. That's why I was like, make sure you record it. if you don't broadcast it, you can just send it to me.
My son's gonna be there recording too, but we're gonna try to live stream it. So I'll make sure I send you everything so that you can see it. Yeah.
Send me the link and I'll have a look at it. Unfortunately, I won't be there. I'd like to be, but as I'm having surgery next month, and I'm not going to be able to go anywhere and do anything for a couple of months. I've crammed everything like in this last month, all these appearances. And tomorrow morning I'm flying to Sweden, and then the next day we're flying to Holland. So, I'm trying to cram a lot of stuff in because I'm going to be, I'm off for a couple of months. So, unfortunately I won't be there, but I'll be there. Plans better, so I'll be there next year.
So Dorian, how can people find out where to come meet you and be involved in what you're doing, on the instruction part, if they want to come and be involved?
The best thing is Instagram.
Okay.
Because Instagram, the Dorian Yates, my official Instagram, because I do personally monitor the DMs on there. The other pages is like the team pretty much do it. So I don't get to see. If you message on Facebook, it might slip through the net. But if you send it to the Dorian Yates Instagram, then I'm going to get to see it.
Okay. Cool.
So
because I'm sure, people will probably enjoy coming and learning from you when they can. Yeah,
I just did actually with one of my instructors, because I do twice a year usually a training week, a certification week in my training methods. So one of my guys just put a camp on here that was very nice with everyone staying in the villa. And we had a guy to talk on TRT, and he did their blood tests before the start of the week, and halfway through they got the results, and they had a variety of guests there. So I just did that, and I do the training camp here. So yeah, just keep an eye out on the social media. I'll be doing one next year, but I haven't got a date at this point. But if you want to come train with me and you like nice weather and beaches and mountains and all that stuff, it's not a bad place to visit.
Who doesn't?
I'm coming down.
Right? Who doesn't?
You should check it out. I mean, because Americans don't really know about Marbella because they're like, why are you living in Spain and what's up with Marbella? But if you check it out, it's like it's a very cool place. It's got different, it's got the nature, it's got mountains and beaches, but it's also got like a port with like the most expensive yachts in the world and designer stores and, Hollywood Hills. It's all that stuff. So it's kind of like, I don't know, Saint-Tropez or somewhere, but it's Spanish. So there's a lot of British here and a lot of Scandinavians as well. And British is like, it's like the first language here. So it's kind of like Spain, but it's not really,
Interesting. Okay. So last little bit here, if you have, what would be your advice to up and coming athlete that wants to do this industry? Like, if looking back, something that you wish you had known maybe in your early days that, man, it would have been really helpful if I had known that. Is there anything that you can think of that would be maybe a good piece of information for somebody that's new to the industry and excited about this?
Well, it's a whole new industry, as I said, with the social media and everything. So I can't really advise too much on that.
As far as
I would say, like, you get out what you put in. Everything is a matter of focus. Focus where your mind and attention goes. That's where the energy is, and that's so. Be careful what you're focusing on, and try to enjoy it and keep it in perspective. I had a lot of friends over the years that maybe they didn't like it when I said what I said at the time. Maybe they feel upset or something like that. But now later on, they say, you know what? Thanks for telling me that. Because a lot of people back in the day, the guys that used to train with me and everything, they were good bodybuilders, but they were not going to be great bodybuilders, and they were not going to make a living as a pro bodybuilder. And I told them that because they asked me, and probably they were upset at the time, but they kind of took my advice and created something else in life, and now they thank me. So keep it in perspective with your life, because not everybody can be the person that's winning, right? So I saw a lot of people make sacrifices where it wasn't appropriate because they missed time maybe with their job and their family and stuff, which they would probably be better off putting their focus into that. So everything's about focus, where you choose to put it. That's really the message. I can't tell people what to do. But if you're going to be very successful in bodybuilding, it's like you're going to know. You're going to know within a couple of years. You got it or you don't have it. If you're still thinking, do I have it or not, then no, you don't. It's an answer. So I don't want to discourage people, but I just want to say, this is not just for people that win contests or just for people that make money from it. That's the peak of the iceberg. Well, it's a positive addition to anyone's life to train and to be healthy and to be fit and to eat properly. That's just going to be a massive positive addition to anyone's life. It's just like, how much do you put into it? Is it like me? It just blinkers on and it's 100%. It worked out for me, but for other people, maybe it didn't. So you get from life where your focus is. I just would leave people with that, and they can make of it what they will.
It's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Life's a movie. It's your movie and you're the director. That's it.
The director and the talent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the talent.
And you're responsible for your movie and how it turns out.
That's important, though. I always tell people, I'll tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And that's somebody that actually cares and is trying to help.
Otherwise, why ask? Why would you? I mean, I don't go around. I didn't go around volunteering to people in the gym. Oh, mate, you know you're never going to make it, right? No, it wasn't like it wasn't like that. Ask me a question.
People are crushed.
So, I only respond to questions. I don't volunteer this information.
I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So
but
Dorian,
yes, make it part of your life. I mean, I can tell you, at 60 years old, I'm so glad that I put all of this work in. And maybe some of it wasn't good because it was extreme competitive bodybuilding, but the rest of my life has been healthy and beneficial. So I'm feeling good and enjoying life at 60, and everyone can do that if they want to.
is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience that we haven't touched?
Not really. I mean, my message is everything is the mind and what the mind focuses on, and that energy helps to create whatever you're focusing on. So be careful what you're thinking about and try to get control on your mind and your thoughts by taking some still time, meditating, pray, whatever it is, some time away from everything, where you're still, because we're thinking all the time, but normally we don't know what we're thinking. And if you don't know what you're thinking, then it can take you to a bad place. So if you get control on the thoughts, you can take more control on your life. That's it.
What about your spiritual walk? How do you blend that into your physical walk?
Well, I think it's the same thing. I don't think it's nothing separate. You know, I think training was always a spiritual experience for me. It was like I went into a different zone, a different place. So it was always somewhat spiritual, and it's always been part of my life, you know. And I've been down many roads spiritually, you know, over 20 years. Started out with reading religious texts, and I've been through experiences with psychedelic plants, and I'm always asking questions. And I think I have a very balanced view of spirituality and how we all fit in, that we're all part of it. We're all actually nothing, as I see it, as I felt it, as I see it, as I heard it. There is nothing more. It's all one thing. There's everything and nothing, and it's all the same thing. And it's all consciousness, and we're all part of it. So we all think we're all, oh, it's only me and I'm separate. No, it's all, everything's one thing, and it's never ending. That's kind of how I see it. So I don't see things like religion, because I think religion is just a man-made concept which makes separation. Because that religion kind of teaches that God is an entity that's separate from you, and that's not correct at all. That's an illusion. There is no separation. Actually, everything is God. You know, that's how I see it. It's all one thing. So that's the spiritual decades, a couple of decades of looking and searching, and that's kind of where I'm at this point. And just to live life in a positive way. Exercise and for your body is part of that, you know.
Well, and you're taking care of
it's holding the spirit, right?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think that I like to think that that I am influencing people in a positive way. I almost feel like that's the whole point of this thing. It's the whole point of me speaking to you today. It's the whole point of me winning the contest in the first place. It's the whole point, because it brought me to the point now. And I mean, if you look at me when I was competing, it'll be very hard to find a picture of me with a smile on my face, because I was not really feeling joyous at that time. I was feeling just like I'm on a mission and I need to do this. And I think I know why, but I didn't really know why. Now I know why. Yeah, because it gave me the platform that I have now, that I can speak about certain things, and just like, some people might hear it and it might help them. And I've had people come up to me, like literally with tears in their eyes at expos, saying, "You don't know me, but like you've said something, and I really think I wouldn't be here today without that input or whatever it was that I said," or something like that. And that's like, better than winning an Olympia trophy, right?
Right.
So,
right.
So that's where I see my role now. As an older person with life experience and things that I can talk about, and if that helps people, then if you only help one person, you've done something great, right? If it's more than that, then amazing, brilliant.
I love that. It is. I think it is all about, and I believe that's what, if we read scripture, that's what it talks about, is loving others, taking care of others. And God's got us all here for a reason, and it's up to us to find those paths.
Well, absolutely. There's some great scriptures in the Bible, great advice. I'm just not down with the people that try to control it. But
yeah.
Wisdom is there. You can read it,
Wow, this has been awesome. So our show sponsor, I think I told you, is the Stemregen, and it's our own personal stem cells enhancement product. And they told me that they were going to be sending you some. So I'm not sure when they've got it shipped, but okay. I wanted you to know that is. I heard from the owner himself. He said he was going to be.
I will let you know when I got it and have a good look at it, and maybe I'll use it in my rehab. I'm going to be, recovering from this surgery for a couple of months. So, yeah, I'll definitely let you know when I'm got it. And I'll enjoy the Olympia when you're out there.
It's been awesome having you on here and getting to see you again. Please give Gal a big hug for me and send her all the best. And I guess you guys get a little, somewhat of, it's not really a vacation, but you get to stay home when you're recovering and be home.
Yeah, that is a vacation. It's a vacation. Staying home is the best. I live right on the beach. I can see the sea. Oh. I got the dog sitting next to me. I got my joint. That's my vacation.
Sounds like you're going to be on vacay. Just
definitely.
I'll send you a picture, okay?
Yes, please do. Hey, what day is your surgery?
October the 30th.
The third. Oh, right at the end. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I crammed the month full of stuff just to get that in. So, a couple of months off afterwards. And
awesome.
Thanks for having me on the show, and it's great to see you.
Thank you, Dorian.
Doing well, Monica and Dylan. Good to meet you, man.
Absolutely.
Let me know how this goes with the Olympia University.
I will. I will.
Or maybe I'll come and speak next year or something.
Oh my gosh, Michael would probably love that.
Oh yeah.
I'll throw out a maybe there. Let's see.
I'm sure Michael would be all about having you a part of it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks, and good evening from me then. Good afternoon to you, I guess.
Yes. Good afternoon. Good evening. Bye for now, Dorian. Well, Dylan, that was awesome.
I wish we could have dragged that on 3 or 4 more hours, but it was great.
Lots of, I know, right? There's so many fun things in my mind's like, oh, it'd be fun to talk about, but we'll have to do another one, I suppose.
Well, he has
he would be
such good answers, and they're long drawn out, and there's so much there, and you just want to listen. Like, I'm sitting here going, man, I want to ask this, but I'd rather listen to this too. So that would be like a 10-part series, I think.
It goes by fast.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like there'll be some up and coming things to connect with him on in the future. So that's awesome.
Definitely.
All right. Well, I guess that's going to wrap up our show today. So thanks, Dylan, for joining here, and have a wonderful rest of your day. We're counting down for the Olympia. So here we go.
All right,
guys.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining here. We'll see you on the next show.
Bye.
Stemregen is professionally formulated for athletes for enhanced recovery, improved microcirculation, and smart cellular signaling. I attribute being an athlete to all of the years of this incredible journey I've had in the health and fitness industry.
I'm Monica Brant, 30-year health educator and encourager. Having added Stemregen into my program for the last year, I've been able to maintain the level of intense exercise that I demand on myself. Thanks to Stemregen, I am unleashing my regenerative potential.